work.
Give you 1 minute, okay. My name's Tim Potter. I'm with the Town of Grundy IDA. We're co-sponsored with the Buchanan County IDA, and I'd like to welcome you to the Small Business Challenge. I appreciate you all taking the time out to do this, and good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Come on, we're going to have some excitement because we're going to be together for the next 6 weeks. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. And I heard my phone, and I'm going to turn that, silence it. Well, my name is Sandy Ratliff, and I'm with Virginia Community Capital, and we're partnered with the Chamber of Commerce and the town of the Grundy IDA and the Buchanan County IDA to do this program. Thanks to a grant that we were able to receive from the Thompson Foundation. You know, the Thompson Foundation's putting a lot of interest in Buchanan and Tazewell counties to kind of help spark community and business development. So they are why we're here tonight. And they're doing some other programs too. They're working with the Southwest Virginia Workforce Development Board that has some programs, which I know you work a lot with Stephen Mullins and so forth, to help provide training for dislocated workers, to help businesses like Chrissy here to get started. And then the other partner that we're working with is the Appalachian Sustainable Development that has some great programs to help. You know, there's a lot of things that's grown in these mountains, but how can we make money from those herbs and so forth that's being grown, and they can help folks get that to a broader market. So we're just kind of collaboratively working in Buchanan County and Tazewell counties to bring these resources and help businesses not only get started like you all are looking at tonight, but to also expand. Now, some things that I think would be good. How about let's go around the room and introduce yourself, and if you want to share what your business plans are, you're welcome to do that, because over the next 6 weeks we're going to build a relationship here, because you're going to be supporting everybody else. Everybody's going to be supporting each other, because I've been doing these for a number of years, and it's amazing after that 6 weeks what a great relationship everybody gets, and you'll see that you'll start maybe doing business together. So, Chrissy, how about I turn it over to you to start out?
Hi, my name is Chrissy Charles. I own Fired Up Pottery, located in the Grundy Plaza. I've been in business there since September the 10th is actually my open date. I have it where people can come in and paint different ceramics. We paint with a non-fire acrylic paint, so people could take the items home that day.
Great. David?
I'm David Ratliff. I haven't started my business yet, but I want a hot dog cart. That's what I plan on doing.
Hot dogs are good.
I'm Jody Bostic. I've got Mountaintop Designs. Been in business right at 3 years now, and we do embroidery, screen print, a lot of decoration on clothing, and then I got a gift shop.
Great.
Nice. I'm Manuel Ponce. I'm from, I live here in Grundy. Originally from Chicago. I've been in Chicago for 45 years. I've just been here for like 2 years. Actually here in a year. As you can see from my shirt, it's a taco, it's a letter D, and it's an I. That stands for something. It stands for eye candy in the Hispanic language. It's slang for eye candy. So this is taco. D in Spanish is de. So taco de, and I is ojo. So it's eye candy. But I originally wanted to do a restaurant, but I'm trying to go towards a food truck, because a food truck is less expensive, there's less overhead, and I can not only make one type of Caribbean food, I can make like 7, 8 different types of Caribbean food. I don't know if you guys ever had Caribbean. You might have, because you were overseas. Caribbean food, once you've had like a jibarito sandwich or a Cuban sandwich, believe me, you never want to be without one. You don't want to be without one once you've had one.
Now, you're welcome to bring samples anytime.
I know. But that's my.
Okay, great.
I concur.
My name's Sean Cosner. I'm a 37-year-old Army Service Saver War veteran. Two things identify that is most important to me, being a father and being a veteran. I have two children, 13-year-old and 18-year-old. Like I said, I was a veteran. I was in the Army from '99 to 2006. Graduated WVU with a business communication degree, and then I did grad school at ETSU, and now I'm currently a law student here at Grundy. I used to own a construction company, did contracts for the United States government, built a lot of buildings for the VA, stuff like that. So I want to, you know, I'm an entrepreneur by my whole life, so when I see a business opportunity, I go after it.
Good. Well, good. We've got diversity, and I can see where we can work together. Now, each one of you should have a notebook. One of the things that you'll see in the little flap on the side, not only is there a pen for you to take, a mechanical pencil for you to take a lot of notes, but I've also, inside this is a flash drive. See, I never leave my home without mine. But it's not your typical flash drive. This has 4 different ends depending on the type of device you use. You can use it on your computer. If you have an iPad, which I use, you can store things on this, or if you have a Droid phone, you've got options. So, and it's got, I think, 32 gigabyte of storage on there. And the reason we're giving you this is as you work on your business plan, you have some place where you can have it if you need to go over and meet with Margie or anyone else. You've got that information there, and as you grow your business, you're going to have some place. Again, I carry this thing around with me all the time, so that it's a great resource that I know that you'll enjoy. Now, a couple things that I want to mention to you. You've all gone through and reviewed the guidelines, but I think it's important as a group that we sit down and we review these guidelines, because this is an investment that the 2 IDAs are making, and as well as the Thompson Foundation, in this program, and we want to make sure you understand it. Our objective is to help you get started, but we have to have some kind of structure to do that. So I'm going to take a moment just to go through the guidelines, and I know, David, you sent your signed guidelines with us, but what we'll need to do is to get each of you to, as we review these, sign off on those blanks that's on the side of each question. It's in this notebook. Yeah, that's where they're at. Just so that we're all singing from the same hymnal, that we understand everything that's required of you and what's required of us, and that way there's no confusion going forward. I've been doing this for a while, so I want to make sure everybody is seeing things. Let me do a little housekeeping, or I guess a plug for who Virginia Community Capital are. We are a community development financial institution. We're like a bank, but we are focused on community development, helping what can impact a community, which is why I'm here tonight, is to help you all get started in business and to grow your existing business. We're a nonprofit, but we have a for-profit bank. We're one of 9 in the nation that is made like that. Being a nonprofit, it allows us to get grant funding, like from the Thompson Foundation and so forth, to go out into communities and create these programs and help implement those. And we do a lot of things. We've been around for about 12 years. We've helped impact over 6,500 new jobs in the Commonwealth. And we have probably now getting over $350 million in assets. So we're throughout the state of Virginia. But they are very committed to Southwest Virginia. It's not only me here in Southwest Virginia, but we have 2 lenders. One, it's a real estate lender, Ernie Maddie, who will be here on the finance night to talk to you what bankers look at when looking at applications when you're going for lending. And then Cindy Snyder, who is our small business lender, and Cindy will be here on the 11th talking about credit. How do you view a credit report, some things you need to plan on before you go seeking financing, and how that could impact you, good or bad. So that's what we're here in Southwest Virginia doing. Come on. We have some various programs. We do real estate lending. We also do, we have a grocery and food access program that's to help with areas of Virginia that are food deserts, which means it's hard to get healthy, fresh foods into those communities, and we have a program that we receive grant funds where we can help. Maybe it's an existing grocery store that it's old and they have outdated equipment, whether that be refrigeration or lighting and so forth, and they need to be energy efficient. We can do studies on that, but also provide some financing to help them to get back into where they can be competitive. Of course, and then we do different small business financing. Our financing structure, we're not a micro lender. Most of our financing deals are $150,000 and up to $5.4 million. But one of the nights, the financing night, we're going to have a micro lender here from People Incorporated, and they do a lot of micro lending. So basically, you're going to be covered with whatever you need throughout this 6 weeks. We've looked all this up. Now, a little bit about the Thompson Foundation. This is a 3-year project that is to not only do this business challenge, but we're also going to be doing different professional development workshops. The one that's coming up, I don't know if you've seen this, but we're going to be doing an Airbnb or how-to Airbnb on the 11th. It's going to be at lunchtime. But as the community goes out and is growing our tourism base, that's leaving a gap because there's folks that are wanting to come into the area, but there's not enough lodging. It's not lodging to where I can bring my ATV equipment or whatever it is. And some people don't like to stay in hotels, especially some of the newer generation. That's not for them. This is a great opportunity too for folks that have property that maybe they inherited, or you have a couple extra bedrooms, or some people have they call it mother-in-law suites that's not being used that you can make money, but you may have a cabin or what have you. But folks in Virginia are averaging about $3,000 to $5,000 a month in extra income through Airbnb. That's the average with the latest study that was put out there. So this is an opportunity, and what we'll do with this is go through the details of how do you go about starting an Airbnb and what it is, the criteria that you have to do, how do you prepare before you do it, you know, how the system works, how you get paid, because that's why you would be doing it, how do you market it, and you'll hear from some existing Airbnb owners through video how they've done it. So this is something that if you're interested, or if you know somebody in the county, this would be a great opportunity. And by the way, all of this is free. It's part of that Thompson Foundation. And we'll probably do some other workshops going forward, like in marketing is always a big thing. I know, Chrissy, you're doing a great job, but I hear great things that you got picked up by Facebook. Yes. To maybe do some free ads. So that's great. You might want to do that workshop for us. Yeah. But as you start your business, or even have an existing business, you know, marketing, you know, you can't build it and people will come. You have to continuously, even on the great, if you're busting at the seams, you can't stop then either, because you always have to be continually looking, because you never know who's behind you getting ready to come into business or take that clientele from you. So you always have to be looking. So, and plus part of that grant program is to provide one-on-one assistance, kind of like what Stephen's doing. That's what the Thompson Foundation is sitting with you, helping you, like as you're expanding. Are you on Virginia State Procurement System, so that you can sell to the Commonwealth, either that be through Southwest Virginia Community College or VDOT or what have you. When you start these food trucks, you know, they may be having events, and that's about a $7 billion annual in sales that the state of Virginia procures in goods and services and construction projects. Why can't you get just a smidgen of that? We can work with you in that. If you want to put together a strategic plan on growing your business, you want to put a marketing plan, maybe you don't know how to put a Facebook page together, whatever it is, I want to be a resource to you, even if it's just midnight. Sandy, do you know anybody in this? I've been in this for about going on 28 years, so I know people, and I can get you the answers what you need. Remember, we're in a team effort. Okay. Let's go to the boring stuff before Margie gets in and she'll get y'all pumped up. The guidelines state that it must be a for-profit business, and you have to physically be in Buchanan County. You can't be over in Russell County or Richlands and receive the funds. The objective of this program is to create new jobs and tax base in Grundy, and that's why the Industrial Development Authority is invested in this. So we want to help you, and they want to make sure that you're going to be successful. That's what we want to do over the next 3 years. Any questions on that? By the way, there'll be a test after this. It'll be an essay. Now, part of the guidelines, and again, they are investing in you through these incentive programs. You have to create, if you're an existing business, you have to create an additional job over the year. That's if you're the $5,000 winner. Because, you know, if you looked at the guidelines, there are different levels of incentives or awards that will be made. But the minimum of one full-time job to qualify. Now, if you are a startup, you as the business owner are considered the full-time employee. And a full-time employee, based on the definition, I think it's the SBA, the federal program, is 32 hours a week. Or if it's two part-time, they have to add up to 32 hours a week. Now that happens sometimes in an Airbnb or an outdoor adventure company that they need some additional help through, you know, the tourist season. So those are things we got to look at, and don't be scared. You know, there's only one $5,000 for a startup and one $5,000 for an existing business, and that's where the biggest thing applies to. Because if you are winning and you come to Mary, which Mary is the physical agent here, the Chamber of Commerce, you would have to show. We're not just going to hand you a check when we announce the awards. This is a reimbursement incentive, which means you have to bring the receipts to show that you made that investment, whether that be you totally redid your website and you added e-commerce to it and that cost you however it was, or like if you're doing your food trucks, all of that. You have to bring those receipts in and show that you have created or that you have spent that money, and then the chamber will reimburse you for that. Now, for the $5,000 winner, they will only reimburse up to $2,500, and then when you get the last $2,500, you have to bring proof that you have created that job if you're an existing business, for example. And for a startup, that you are still operating. Again, the objective here is to create jobs and bring opportunity in Buchanan County. Any questions on that? Okay. Also, you have to show proof that you have done all your business licensing and applicable taxes that you'll need. For example, you guys will probably have to go through this Department of Health and get all of that information. And we actually did a food truck workshop about 5 years ago in Roanoke, so if there's any info on that you could use, I'd be happy to share with you. But the Department of Health is going to be your friends going forward. Now, the way we're going to score this is the last night, which is always the fun night. Am I in your way?
No, it's fine.
Is the pitch night. It's kind of like the Shark Tank night, where there'll be a group of judges that you will get up in front of. You have 8 minutes to pitch your business idea. That's where you're going to share your business ideas and what you're planning on doing, and they're going to grade you on, yes, I feel like this will be successful. Your pitch was thorough, that you provided all the content information, blank, 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 blank. And if you want to see samples of those, I think I have those on your, if I don't have them on your flash drive, I can get them to you. I'm trying to remember what I had on there. Also, the strength of this program is your business plan. You know, and I know you've been in business for a while, that business plan is key. Which Margie will talk more about that. But if you're going to a lender, or in some cases now I'm seeing, if you're going to a supplier and maybe it's somebody you have they have never heard of you before, and you want to buy from them, sometimes now you have to sell your company to become a vendor or wholesaler to suppliers now. So you've got to know every in and out about your business plan. You need to do that for yourself because you all are investing in this, not only with your money but with your time. So you want to make sure that I've got all my T's crossed and I's dotted, because you need to know how you're going to start that business, that it's set up correctly, whether that be an LLC or sole proprietor. Margie can go through all of that, but that you're going to know how you're going to grow that business down to, hopefully you're going to know, I need to make this many sales every month just to pay my bills. That's before I make any money. And you need to know that, because you have to have that goal of what you're going to do, because you got to figure out all your equipment. It's going to cost you money to take those food carts or that food truck to a location, let alone not only the equipment but the food that you've got to have, all your licensing and so forth. And you've got to market that, right? You can't just show up beside the road and think people's going to find you. So that business plan is going to help you go through all of that. So what will happen is you submit your business plan. They need to be here by the 3rd of May, or you can bring them the night of May the 2nd on pitch night. And the judges will not be in Buchanan County, I can tell you that right now. One's already, I know it's going to be in Tennessee. They will be outside of this area, probably a number of counties over, so that there's no question whatsoever that with somebody knew somebody and they got favoritism and so forth. That's not the way it's going to be. And the business plan is the higher accumulation of your total scores. And of course, you have to be here every night too. You can't miss, or if you miss one, you need to have somebody come and attend and give you all the notes and so forth.
I'm sorry. On the last night, that's pitch night. Can you bring samples of?
Yes. Yes. If you want to buy the judges off, that's totally up to you. It happens all the time.
I object.
my wife brought her friends 2 weeks ago, and she brought her friends. There's like 6 of them. One of them is getting married, so they're planning their little thing. And she said, "How come you don't cook those little sandwiches? It's a plantain, but it's flattened, and then you fry it, and then you put the stuff in it. Why don't you make those?" And I said, "All right." And then I made a couple of them. Can you believe they ate like a whole plate full? They ate them.
Yeah, but you said a group of women? Yeah, I can believe it.
They've never had it before. They were asking for more. I said, "I'm out of bananas. Walmart doesn't carry anymore. That's it. Got it anymore."
Well, and that pitch night, that is your 8 minutes. Now, how you use that 8 minutes is, and tell your story is totally up to you. If you want to use a PowerPoint, that's fine. If you want to bring samples of your products, that's fine. But 8 minutes to tell your story. And if you want some help, or you can go and look at other business challenges. There's one that's in Floyd that I can send you links. There was the Washington County. There's some other business challenges where you can actually see and hear some of the pitches to get an idea to see who did good and what not to do. But be prepared. If you're going to do a business or a PowerPoint, make sure it works. Don't have an empty slide, or if you need to, come early and we'll make sure that it'll work on here. But this is basically, you just set your computer up there and you go, and it's got 2 options. You can either do it in an HDMI port or the regular AV port. So you do it that way. Now, back to the business plans, you'll have to bring 3 copies, and we don't. I never see them. Mary doesn't see them. Nobody here sees them. What that usually does, they're put in a bag and they're dropped off at the various judges, and they have a scoring sheet that they will use for each one. And part of that is they're going to give you feedback, which is what we want. You want to know, well, I didn't put enough in on my financial projections, or whatever it is, how you told your story. That'll give you input so that when you are going in front of a lender, you're ready. You've got that taken care of. Any questions so far? Okay, we're going good. Again, the applicant, you're granted 1 excused absence, but if you are going to be absent, we ask that someone come and represent you because over at least the next 5 weeks, there's a lot of information that's going to be given out that's going to help you. Everything from how do you finance that business, how do you market that business. Next week is we're going to have professionals, an attorney, a CPA, and someone with insurance. This is your opportunity. I suggest you have your questions ready, especially when it comes to food or how your business is structured, how much liability insurance you got to have. I set up as a sole proprietor, but maybe I shouldn't do this. Those are the types and lots of others questions you need to come next week prepared to ask, because this is your opportunity to get these professionals at no cost to you. So come prepared. That's how you're going to get the most out of it. And even for an existing business, I think there's probably questions that you've gotten into, especially from a CPA. I started out using this and keeping records, but I'm sure there's what else should I be doing? So be prepared for that. And it's sorry that we have to put in there, but it's happened before. If you're more than 15 minutes late for a session, we're going to count you excused, because in the past we've had folks that'll come maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes late. Well, there's some good content that you're missing. And again, the community is investing in you, so we want to make sure that you're getting all the training that you need. Now, in the event that we should have inclement weather, whether that be a flooding or what have you, nobody can predict it. We will notify you by email, or the Buchanan County. The challenge has a Facebook page. We will also put that up there on there if we have to change. And usually, what we do, since this is held on a Thursday, we might have to look at the following Tuesday to make up, and then we'll have to do the regular on Thursday. But we would notify you when that makeup date would be. Now the prize awards, quickly go over that. For startup, we're going to have one $5,000 winner, a first place $1,500, and second place $1,500, and third place $500, and the same with existing business. We're also going to do the best business pitch too, and you can get an additional $500, and then the best business plan. So there's opportunities that you can get more out of that. Any questions on that? That's pretty self-explanatory. The prize awards also include a 1-year free membership to the Buchanan County Chamber of Commerce. If you have not been involved in a chamber, I have through my professional career. That is a great opportunity for you to network in your community and promote. But it's also networking with folks that could be buying your product and services, and can become mentors for you. So that's part of it for a year, and I would suggest after that, Murray didn't pay me to say that, but a chamber is one of your best resources to support your business in your community, wherever you're at. Also the ideas and plans are protected. Again, we're not going to share your content of those business plans with anyone. The only time we'll see anything is on the scoring, because we have to tally them up. But we don't see any of the content. One of the other things that we put in there is that the winners must meet at least monthly with designated mentors, and your mentors are listed in your notebook. And we do that for a reason. Folks like Margie and Mary and others that are on this list, they can help you going forward, and we want to make sure you get started and go forward on the right track. And that mentoring could be simply you send us an email and say, do you know anything about this, or you have a question, but don't be out there by yourself. You don't have to. We're here as a team to support you. Now it's up to you whether you reach out to us. We can't force you. We can if you want all your money. But this is for your benefit too. And I know you're going to get busy, but there's a lot of talent on this sheet. And if you need more, if it's in an area that's not, the specialty that you don't think can do it, we'll find you that help that you need. And the disbursement of funds, what will be required is when you want a disbursement, you need to, you'll have to drop off those receipts and that request to Mary, and it could take up to 2 weeks depending on the time frame to get that disbursement done. So I don't think you should expect her to drop everything and write you a check that day. That's just not feasible. So just wanted to point that out to you. And we would like to know, it would be helpful if you could put a mentor signature on that request or some kind of documentation that you've met with that mentor. Again, we're not trying to do this to be, I don't know what's the word I'm talking about. We want to make sure you get the help that you need, and maybe we're forcing it on you, but in the long run you'll appreciate it. Now, the definition of a startup is a business or enterprise that's been in operation for 1 year or less. The length of time of the business is determined by the date the business started or had its first sale, because sometimes people work on their business plan and they go ahead and get their business license, and we've had this happen, but they didn't do anything for a year, year and a half, 2 years. So what we want to look at is to make sure you've got all the documentation, you've done those steps, but in reality is when you got that first sale, started generating that first revenue, is when that business started. The other thing too that the Chamber Board was felt that was very important is that home-based businesses must move into a storefront within the award's time frame. Now, there's going to be cases, well, that will not be feasible. For example, a food truck, you can't move that into a business, in the same way with your hot dog stand, but that's what they want to do. Is, again, we're wanting to build retail and businesses up in Buchanan County, and that's why they felt this very seriously, where you're helping to fill up these buildings, but you're also sparking development in Buchanan County. Okay? This is an example. Of course, you can't see it, but this is what the scoring for the business plans look like. And you can see that they have everything from, you know, that your executive summary, you were concise, you showed what your product and services, what you're going to be doing, your market analysis, your management team, your marketing plan, your time frame, your financials, the economic impact, how that's going to impact Buchanan County, and the overall impressions. And again, for each category, we ask the judges to provide that feedback. Again, we want to help you, and that's going to be good for you going forward. And then this is the score sheet for the business pitch night. And it's basically, they want to know, did you clearly articulate your concept for your business? Is it a niche for the county? Is it a need? Because, you know, excuse me, for what you all were doing for the food trucks and the food cart, you know, there's a need, especially up at Poplar Gap or Southern Gap with all the development there. You're going to help, especially with tourism and all the things that are going on. There is a need here in Buchanan County. Is the likelihood for success? Did you use visual aids? Were they beneficial? And was your pitch persuasive and delivered on time? Again, you got 8 minutes, and I highly recommend that you find someone that you can practice on that, because we get nervous. And you can just start rambling and time goes by. And I have this little timer thing that's got all these pretty lights on it, that as soon as it's 8 minutes is up, I'm going to use the juice stick and get you off stage. But what it is after that 8 minutes, then the judges have a couple minutes that they can ask questions, just to make sure that they understood everything that you said. Yes?
Okay, just got a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
On pitch night, we can hook up our computer and what if we have everything in a thumb drive already, like the one you were showing us?
We would need to know ahead of time. I'm an Apple, an iOS, but I've got a computer, a personal computer that I could bring. I can't use my bank.
No, I got my own. I got my own laptop.
Yeah.
Can I bring my own laptop?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. All you have to do is just set it in there. Just make sure you check though on how you set up on the AV, because some of the newer ones do not have the AV. and to make sure that you have an HDMI port. One of those two is what this setup can handle. But if push come to shove, if you wanted to send it to us beforehand and we preloaded it, but most of the time people are more comfortable with their own devices.
Right.
And if you need a clicker, I'll bring a clicker that night to help you go through it. Okay? Now, that's it. Any questions? Now, before we leave tonight, we want to get those signed guidelines that you initialize on each area that there's a line to make sure that you understand. And if you have any questions, let's get them out now. But we need those back. Again, David, we've got yours. You don't have to worry about it. Oh, and I've got extras if you need to keep those in your notebooks. I've got 3 extras. I can get one more if I need to. And Chrissy, you getting one? Yeah, I'm almost positive. I can get one out of the other notebook if we need to. While y'all are doing that, how about I switch out devices? Or actually, I don't have to switch out. I can just hopefully hit input. Let's hope.
Here you go.
There you go. Okay, what do I get to make it? Oh, no, there's not a, oh, no, you have to do this. Okay, I didn't even bring my flash drive in. Any questions before we move forward? I'm just glad y'all taking advantage of this opportunity. And thanks if you see any of the leaders. Tim had to leave early, but if you see someone with in Buchanan County IDA or the town of Grundy IDA, thank them for this opportunity because we want to make sure you're successful going forward.
Hi everyone, I am Margie Douglas. I'm with the Small Business Development Center. My office is located on the campus of Southwest Virginia Community College, which services Buchanan County, and we have lots of students that come from Buchanan County to Southwest. So my role is to actually work with small businesses to help them find the resources they need, to help them complete a business plan, to make sure that they have everything that they need in their business plan, to help them with their financial projections. Sometimes it's kind of difficult because it is really just a good, an educated guess when you're trying to make projections as to how much money you think you're going to make in the next 3 to 5 years. So does anybody here that's already in business have a business plan? I don't. Okay.
Stay in business.
Do you have it up here? Do you have it up here? A lot of people will have a business plan, but they don't have it a formal written business plan. So, why do you think that it's important? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I brought my business plan.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. It's a giant business plan.
It's a giant business plan?
Well, it's like 30 pages long.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not, that could be typical. I've seen them with lots of supporting documentation. Oh, that looks very nice.
Executive summary, which is the business plan. It's like 30 pages.
So did you use a template to do that?
I use a service called Life Plan.
Oh, okay.
You put your projection, you put your no, let me just tell you something about me.
Sure.
When I was a kid, my mom cooked a lot, and she cooked for our 6 brothers and sisters, plus she worked at Brock's Candy in Chicago.
Oh, wonderful.
What happened was I used to look at her all the time cook, and I wanted to generate money. So I was 12 years old. I started making pies, apple pies. I started delivering apple pies door to door, making money, making $5 a pie, $5 a pie. My mom liked the idea, my dad liked the idea, but one day I knocked on the door of a health inspector.
Oh.
And he told me, "You don't have a license, you shouldn't be doing it." I never did it again. I was so scared. He threatened me bringing the police. And the police in Chicago are these giant guys, and they're like that wide and huge and tall,
And you're 12 years old.
And I'm 12 years old. I'm barely 5'5". And scared the living daylights out of me. But I've ventured into the hot dog carts. I used to build them.
Mm-hmm.
I could build them for under 500, and I did a whole bunch of stuff when I was a kid. But what got me into this is that I generated a logo. Maybe this logo isn't new. I've made it like 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But I've never done anything with it.
Okay.
And
So now you need to put some legs on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'd like to take a look at that
Sure.
in a bit. So anyway, why do you think it's necessary to have a business plan? Any comments on that?
Where are you going?
Right. When you go to a funder, most of the time the first thing they're going to ask is to see your business plan, right? So they want to know who you are, what you want, what your product is, what your service is. They want to know how much money you're going to need. They want to know how, why you're qualified to operate that business, who the managers are, and all those types of things. So basically, I say they want to know who, what, when, where, why, and how. But more importantly, they want to know that you know who, what, when, where, why, and how. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the different aspects of starting a business, and it sounds to me like several of you may already be in business, and I've kind of geared this toward someone who has not been, but we can go through it pretty quickly because Sandy has threatened me with that electric stick. And so, so some of the things that you really need to, some questions that you need to ask as you're formulating your business is, do you have the support from your family and friends? You may have the greatest idea in the world, but if your husband or wife expects you to be at home at 5 o'clock every night to do whatever, then it may not work. So you need that support. Have you worked in a business that's similar to that? So that's important that you know what you're doing or what to expect. Would the people that know you say that you're entrepreneurial? I mean, do you have that spirit that you're going to do whatever it takes to get that job done? And have you ever taken a business course or a seminar in that arena? So some of the questions that are maybe personal characteristics. Do you consider yourself a leader? Do you like to make your own decisions? Do you enjoy competition? Do you have willpower and self-discipline? Do you plan ahead? I mean, I've seen people that have none of these characteristics that are great at what they do, but for the most part, I think we all have to have some of these characteristics. Do you like people? If you don't like people, it may not work. Do you get along with others? Would people say that you're outgoing? And again, I've seen people that really had very little personality that were really great entrepreneurs. And it just depends on the type of business that you're dealing with. And then, are you a good listener? And I think that is a characteristic that everybody needs regardless. Personal conditions. Are you aware that running your own business may require more than 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and maybe weekends and holidays? Do you have the physical stamina to be self-employed? Do you have emotional strength to deal effectively with pressure? Are you prepared, and this is important, are you prepared if needed to temporarily lower your standard of living until your firm is, or until your business is firmly planted? It may be that you have a lot of money saved up, but what happens if you run into a glitch? Maybe something breaks down, or something comes in. Maybe you need a new employee. Sometimes you have to take a little bit of money out of that personal account. So we try to gear this to where you're not going to have to do that. And then, are you prepared to lose a portion of your savings? Again, that might be reality. So the skills and experience. Do you know what basic skills you need in order to have a successful business? Do you possess those skills? Do you know the regulatory issues? That's key, particularly if you're in the food business. You have to know what those regulations are. Do you feel comfortable with a computer? Today, if you don't have your computer skills, you're in trouble. If you don't have it, hopefully somebody that works with you does. Have you ever worked in a managerial or supervisory position? It's hard to be a disciplinarian sometimes. Like for my personality, I've been a manager for a long time, but I hate to have to discipline someone. It's just not who I am or who I want to be. So it would be very difficult for me to have to do that. You know, delegating. Sometimes I would rather do it myself as to have to ask somebody to do it. But that's something that when you have your own business, you have to be able to delegate those responsibilities. And do you have the basic skills needed for your business? And if not, are you willing to delay those plans a little bit in order to build those skills? Maybe work with someone else that that does this type of business, or go to school and get some training in that area. So are you ready to start your business? I like top 10. My husband is the world's worst to go on the computer, and if it says the top 10 best places to visit, I can guarantee you he's going to click on it and get a virus. So, but I have to say that, you know, it's just such a fun thing to say, oh, what are those top 10 things that, you know, that we need to do, or we, you know, that's out there. So these are the top 10 things, and we're going to go through each one of these one at a time. So if you will bear with me, and some of it gets a little lengthy, so if you start getting bored, raise your hand and we'll change gears. The very first thing is to conduct market research. Do you know your business? Do you know who your target market is? Do you know who likes your plantain sandwiches? Do you know, I mean, yeah, but but how do you know that? Did you do research? Did you actually prepared it and people tasted it? So there are lots of different ways that you can do that research. Industry magazines or periodicals. There's lots of food magazines. There's lots of tourism type magazines that have really good statistics, that talk about what the new trends are, that talk about what somebody in Virginia or West Virginia or Tennessee or Kentucky might be doing. So look at those industry magazines. Government statistics. Say you're going to put your food truck here. What's the traffic count that goes through here, or through wherever you're going to place that food truck? It's important to know what the traffic count is. You want to be in a high traffic area. You want to be where there are a lot of people. VDOT, of course, they're the ones that do the traffic count. U.S. Census. The more people that are in that area, the more opportunities you have to sell your service or product. So it's important to know those government statistics. You can go to the U.S. Census, and it will give you lots of good information from not only the number of people that are in that area, but it'll give you information on their wages. Maybe if it's in a real low income area, that may not be a good place to set up, because they're not going to have discretionary funds to buy, hot dogs or something, something from a food truck, or maybe pottery or something like that. Corporate statistics. So if you're working with a company and maybe it's a franchise, they have all kinds of statistics if you're working with a franchise. Okay, IBIS World. So in your back packet, the Small Business Development Center subscribes to an organization that's called IBIS World. And I use this with all of my clients because it has such good information. So I wished I'd known that there were going to be food folks here, or some of the other projects, but what I did is I went online and I pulled off, and this is a subscription, so it's very up to date. I think it was done in December 2018. If you look at this, and what I did is I typed in bed and breakfast, and it came up that between, the revenue in the United States in 2018 was $3.3 billion. The annual growth between 2013 and 2018 was 5.4%, and they expect the annual growth to be 1.8% between 2018 and 2023. So this gives you a lot of really good data. This is just a short report, but they also have lengthy reports that shows what the key drivers are, what's driving that train, what's causing people to spend money, and why are people going to the beds and breakfast or the hostels or whatever. So on this one, the key external drivers says consumer spending, domestic trips by the U.S. residents. When after 9/11, I was working with tourism, and after 9/11, international travel was just about dead. I mean, you know, people wanted to go to places that were close to home. They would take small vacations rather than, you know, 2-week vacations to Europe. So this gives you an idea of what's, you know, why are people, you know, what's causing this, what's driving this train. And then if you look at the products and services segmentation, so it'll break it down into hostels and other accommodations, bed and breakfast. So 47.4% of this $3.3 billion is as a result of bed and breakfast revenue, okay? So I hope that when you're putting together your business plan for this, or even for your own, you know, for your business, I hope that you'll come and see me. I hope that you'll call me and let me know if there's something that I can help you with as far as pulling together some of the information that you might need. That's one of the things that we do a lot of, is working with clients that are doing a business plan. So if you're an existing business, you may have some historical data. So that may be, you might know what your revenue was last year based on your tax returns and things like that. And then, you know, it's really important that you have a relationship with your local government, your state government, with your chambers, with anybody that deals with the business arena, because if you have that relationship, you're going to be more likely to know what's going on. You may know that there's a big event that's coming down the pike, as you know, whereas if you don't have that relationship, you might find it out in the paper a couple of days before it actually happens, or maybe after the fact. So it's important to have that relationship with those folks. So the next thing is choose a business structure. So the ones of you that are already in business, what is your business structure? Chrissy, what do you know how your business is set up? Is it a sole proprietor or limited liability?
It's sole.
Sole?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else want to share?
Mine was an S Corp on a construction company.
Okay. Anybody else?
LLC.
LLC. Probably the most of the businesses that I work with from the SBDC standpoint is it's probably a limited liability company, but there are lots of different structures, and of course, you know, there's tax ramifications and there's reasons to choose a specific business entity. So, and I don't want to read all of this to you. I do have that information in there for you. But just to talk a little bit about the sole proprietor, you and that business are one and the same. So if your business incurs liability, then you will incur that liability. So if someone decides to sue your business, guess what? They're going to sue you. They go after your personal assets, your car, your home, whatever you might have. So the advantages of a sole proprietorship is that it's easy to form, it's inexpensive, and you get to keep all the income, and it's flexible. But the disadvantages is that you assume the liability. And to me, that's scary to think that, you know, because somebody might walk in your, or they might buy a hot dog or, you know, something off of your food truck and say, I got food poisoning, I'm going to sue you. You know, so it's scary if you have your personal assets attached to that. Limited liability company or partnership. It is set up as a separate entity. It's more flexible than a corporation, though. The income is treated as a separate entity and has its own tax forms, and the owners are generally protected from liability. So limited liability with taxation benefits of the partnership, that's one of the advantages, and no loss of power to a board. So, you know, if you're a corporation, you're going to have a board, you're going to have all these structures set up, but you're going to have to, you know, that board may be the one that makes the decisions for you. You don't necessarily get to make your own decisions. And then, you know, the formation is more complex. The other thing with a limited liability company is that what laws apply in Virginia may not necessarily apply in Tennessee or Kentucky. So you may have it set up, if you move to another state, then you would have to, you know, become aware of what the laws are for the limited liability in that state. Partnerships, of course, you know, that's two or more people, each contribute money, work, property, labor, whatever. You file the annual information return. Each partner includes his or her shares of the partnership on their returns. The advantage is it's easy, inexpensive to create, and the profits go to partners. Income tax return could be easier to raise funds because sometimes a sole proprietor or limited liability, if you go to a bank, they may not be as willing to give you a small loan simply because you're not a corporation. And then the disadvantages, profits must be shared. Partners can be held liable for each other's mistakes. So, if you have trust issues, you may not want to do a partnership because it could be something that if your partner makes a mistake, then you may wind up having to help pay for that. C Corp, the business is set up as an entity that has its own rights, privileges, liabilities, and it's often run without the direct ownership. Independent legal entity owned by shareholders. In forming a corporation, prospective shareholders exchange money, property, or both for corporate capital stocks. And they're complex. You have to have boards, you have to have annual meetings, you have to do a lot more administrative type work for a corporation. Same thing with C Corp. Limited liability when it comes to the responsibility for business debt and actions of a corporation. Shareholders' personal assets are protected. Shareholders can only be held accountable for their investment in stock of the company. Ability to generate capital. So there again, it's easier for a corporation to go to a bank and borrow money. Corporate tax treatment. The corporation files separately from their owners. And it could be attractive to employees because you may be able to offer, health care and different types of benefits. Disadvantage, time and money, it's costly to form. Double taxing, so in some cases, the company, when it makes a profit, it's taxed, and then again, when the dividends are paid to the shareholders, you're taxed. And then additional paperwork, and then you're very highly regulated by the federal, state government, and sometimes local. Okay, so the S Corp, and this is what you had was an S Corp. An S corporation provides the liability protection of a corporation but the taxation benefits of a partnership. The tax status is only available for the companies with fewer than 100 shareholders. Income for the company goes to each shareholder's individual tax return based on his or her share of the company, and the owner is generally protected from liability. So the advantages is the protection of limited liability without paying corporate tax. And then the disadvantages are that the S Corps are applicable to many regulations, including shareholders, expensive to set up, and the scrutiny of the IRS. So there's lots of pros and cons. So when you're thinking about the format of your company, you would want to think about, what works best for me. But one of the things that I really try to keep people from forming is a sole proprietorship because of the liability. Okay, tips for choosing your business name. So, Chrissy, what's your business name?
Fired Up Pottery.
Fired Up, I like that. Okay, and who else? You have a business?
Yeah, I don't have a business key.
Yet, okay. Do you have a name?
Yeah, Dave's Dogs.
Dave's Dog?
I like
good.
it. It's catchy. I can see this T-shirts. Dave's Dog.
What about you?
It's Mountaintop Designs.
Oh, okay, Mountaintops Designs, okay. What was your D.I.?
Taco,
Okay.
Just means eye
Eye
candy.
candy, yeah.
Just eye candy.
Okay. Actually, I had a company named Eye Candy that I worked with, but it wasn't food.
Oh, yeah. Is it
And
male?
it-
Tell us more.
Yes,
Did you name?
I could figure the only eye candy you want to see is guys just stuffing dollars down there.
Oh, just embarrass myself.
Oh,
Okay. It was legitimate. It was legitimate. Okay, so the tips for choosing your business name. Avoid hard to spell names. Has anybody here, I know Sandy's probably used Flickr, but it's not F-L-I-C-K-E-R. They leave the E out, and so it's really hard if you want to Google or anything like that. It's hard to come up with Flickr. Do not choose a name that limits your business growth. Have you seen the commercial on TV with Overstock.com where they say they're not just overrun, overstocked products? So that I think that when they initially started, maybe they were, but now they're trying to kind of get away from that. Conduct a thorough internet search. You know, you can find just about anything on the internet. So go through and Google the name of your company. Use a name that conveys meaning. So, you know, if you have something that's near and dear to your heart, or if you have something that really, you know, means something to you, that may be a good name for you. Conduct a trademark search. Conduct a state corporation commission search. So one of the first things that I normally do when I'm working with a client is I go onto the Virginia State Corporation Commission's website, and you can go into under business, and you can go in under name of distinguishability, type in the name that you want to use, and it will come up and say if it's distinguishable, meaning that it's available. You can go online and reserve that name, I think for up to 6 months, or you can go ahead and just register the name. So it's relatively easy to do that on their website. Assess that the name is catchy. So Dave's Dogs is catchy, you know. Get feedback on the name. You know, toss that name around with your family, your friends, your coworkers, and see if that's something that, you know, kind of strikes a chord with them. If not, you know, you might want to rethink that. And make sure that it sounds good when it's said out loud. Use resources available for brainstorming names. So there are some websites that you might be able to, you know, find out if those names are available, you know, if they're, you know, out there. And then make sure that you're personally happy with the name. So, because you're going to have to live with it for a long time, more than likely. All right, select your business location. So I think everybody's going to select their location here in Grundy, right? Okay, so have you considered that where you're going to be? So if you have a food truck, you would need to be on a corner or someplace where they have electricity, right? Or wrong? You wouldn't need it? It's self-sustaining, your food truck? Okay. See what I know? Okay, so, but you know, in some situations, if you are going to do some kind of a business, you may need, I mean, you probably need water, correct? At your pottery place?
Yes.
Okay, so if you didn't have water, then you'd be in trouble.
I have a generator
Oh, okay.
I bought like 6 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I barely use it, but
Oh, okay.
I was thinking about it. Maybe if there was no electricity hookup, and the businesses around me, or let's say I'm in a fair, they don't mind me turning it on, because it does make a little noise.
Right.
So that's the only problem I see.
Is that what you do? I mean, do you use a generator, or you just wouldn't need that at all?
No, it's a self-sustaining car.
Oh, okay.
It's propane.
Oh, okay.
And then there's like a battery for the on-demand hot water and pump for the hand washing.
Oh, awesome. Okay. All right. So gather information, you know, demographic and economic characteristics in your area. I mean, are you going to be in an area where there's going to be enough people going by on a regular basis? Or, you know, are you going to have enough festivals and fairs and things like that to sustain what you want to do? Research your competitors. That's key. Know your competitors. You know, name names. You know, what's going to set you apart? What's going to make your product or service better? But know who that person is and what makes you different, what makes you better. Maybe you're offering something that's not even offered in this area. That, like, just like you were talking. Is it what did you call that? Your sandwich plantain?
Jibarito. It's a jibarito. Well, there's no meat in sandwiches. There's
okay.
no jibarito.
Okay.
There's no sopa de salchichon. There's a soup.
Okay.
It's just a sausage soup.
Okay.
But once you've had that sausage soup,
Okay.
you've never had
Never
soup
had
like this
soup.
before.
Okay. Okay. So contact your local councils. You know, you want to make sure that you know what those regulations are. You want to make sure that you're in compliance, that you have your license. If you're in a town, most likely you will have to have a business license. If you're in a county, you may not have to have a business license, okay? And then consider the current and future needs of your business. So you may go into a really tiny little corner office but then your business may really take off and expand. So you may need a little bit of space to grow. So you might want to consider future needs. Okay, the fun part begins. Writing a business plan. So Manuel has already written his business plan, and I'm happy to review that. But there's lots of components to that. I do have a template that I use that I offer my clients. And what I do is it's a Microsoft Word document, and it's cut and paste more or less. There's like your executive summary, there's the description of your business, there's the management. I mean, it goes all the way down through every one of these. We address everything that's on here. What's your product and service? Describe that. What makes it unique? Why would someone in this area use your service or your product? Your management team. Who is going to be the manager? Who's going to take care of the day-to-day operations? Who's going to do the actual work? So when we do the management team, we have the manager team or the management. Then we do support personnel, and we also do a section that says who your your support professionals are, whether it's an attorney, an accountant, SBDC, whomever. We list who those people are that you're working with. It could be your mentor. So that shows your funder that you do have. That you're having professional assistance too. That's probably the first two things I tell my clients. Have an attorney and have an accountant, because you want your establishment to be set up correctly. You don't want problems with IRS. So if you can't afford to do that, it may not be a good time to start a business, because you really need to make sure and that's what those folks do every day. That's what they make a living doing. Market analysis, again, there's all kinds of different ways that you can do the marketing analysis, but I do have that IBIS World, have access to it. It is a copyrighted document, so it is very legitimate, and usually the information is spot on as far as what the trends are. It also has, how much revenue that they made historically, and also how much they anticipate. And they base it on a formula.
Hey, Margie, could you run each one a copy?
I could. I certainly, yeah, if you all will contact me.
You've got their contact info now.
Yep. So if you'll contact me and tell me exactly what you're doing or what you're thinking, then I can run one of these, and it's actually about 30-some pages. But this is just like an iExpert, a real brief document, but it will give you lots of really good information. Marketing plan. So give me some ideas of what you guys are planning to do as far as marketing your business.
Mine's going to be a lot of word of mouth. I'm planning on doing a coffee cafe.
Okay.
So here across the school, from law school, there used to be a building that the law students would actually go to. It hasn't been there for a few years now, and there's no place for students like myself. And this is I'm ending my 2-year mark, and they want to put something there. I'm a licensed contractor, so I'm going to fix up the building as well for them for free, for volunteer hours.
Awesome.
And I'm going to see if I can work out a deal with them for lowered rent or even free rent for a 12-month or year period.
Awesome.
And then there's a sign you can drive, you can see it driving by.
Serendipities.
Okay.
It's right at the
I
Walk
love
Bridge.
coffee. I'm a customer already.
Awesome.
Example.
I love it too. I live on it.
I'm a screenwriter, so I've written 3 screenplays.
Uh-huh.
And I used to go to this coffee shop in Chicago called Dollop Coffee. This is about 15-20 years ago, before Chicago got really commercialized. I used to Dollop Coffee right in the middle of Uptown. I used to go there all the time, work on my screenplay. I met a whole bunch of actors, and I used to go all the time to write my screenplays. Matter of fact, I finished one of my screenplays there.
Awesome.
Well, it's called Dollop Coffee. You look at coffee right now. You know how many stores they have now? They have about 6, and they had 1 back then.
Oh wow.
Now they have about 6.
So do you think they'll be the next Starbucks?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully word of mouth, and you can drive by and see it. And of course, marketing's almost free now with the internet. You have Facebook, Instagram. It's simple. I mean, It's a lot easier than it was.
Absolutely. There are a lot of ways to market this day and age. Okay, and signage. Good signage is always a good thing too. So, then timeline. So a timeline is a to-do list with dates assigned to it and a person assigned to it. So if you are going to do your coffee shop, you want to kind of have a target date as to when you're going to open. And this is the way I do timelines, is I back it up, because if I say that I want to have that coffee shop open by July 1st,
It'll be August.
then August 1st, then I think, well, I've got to get through this business challenge. I've got to win the $1,500. I've got to finish the construction. So there's, make that list, put a date, and then put who's going to be responsible for completing that. So if it's just you, guess what? Your name's going to be in that whole list. But a timeline is important. I've always heard that if you have a project and you don't have a date assigned to it, it's just a dream. It's not a real project. So make sure that you do a timeline. And then the financials, and we're going to go through that just a bit. This is what my income projections looks like. It's just a spreadsheet. And I look at the revenue, we look at the cost of goods sold, and we look at the expenses. And we have an income and a cash flow. And I apologize that it's such poor quality and so small, but I do have larger spreadsheets that if you would like for me to send those to you, if you'll just drop me an email, let me know what I can provide for you, I'm happy to do that. But it will tell you how much income that you're actually bringing in. So when you finish this spreadsheet, when you get down to the end of the month or the end of the six months or the end of the year, you're going to know how much income is coming in, how much actual money after you've paid your bills, after you've paid your taxes. The next spreadsheet will look very similar. It's going to have your revenue, it's going to have your cost of goods sold, it's going to have your expenses. It's also going to have, if you have a loan, it's going to have your loan payment in there on the cash flow. So when you get to the end of this spreadsheet, when you get to the end of the month, you're going to see how much cash on hand you have. Okay? So the first spreadsheet shows how much money you're making, bringing in after you pay your taxes and after you pay your bills. The second one will show how much actual money you have in your till. That means that you have to pay your vendors, you have to buy your products, so that the cash flow is really important.
And Margie, on their flash drive that I gave you is a sample cash flow for you to look at, as well as some sample templates that you can use for your business plan. Okay. So then you need to start your funding process. You could, a lot of people have some cash in a savings account, but I'm getting ready to spend all mine. I'm building a house, so I'm not going to have a personal savings account. So, but if you have, personal savings, more than likely you may go in that direction. You can go to get a traditional bank loan, and some of these programs, some of the government programs that you might hear about, they may have some advantages. Maybe they provide funding for working capital or inventory or things like that, where a traditional bank won't. But in most cases, if you can get a traditional bank loan, you may be better off to go with a traditional bank loan because the interest rates may be lower. But again, they're not going to finance inventory and working capital. Family and friends, I never advise that. That always causes issues, but it's been done. And then there's lots of government programs, and there's programs like Sandy's, the Virginia Community Capital. They have the loans, and you said 125, is that what? 150,000 is the lowest that we go.
Okay, I was thinking it was 50. When did that change?
We upped it.
Okay, 125,000 and up. And then People Incorporated, of course, they have microloans. There are a couple of other opportunities that are out there. You guys are in the Coalfield region and the VCETA region, the Virginia Coalfield Economic Development Authority region. They have, for the last 2 years, have done a grant program. It's called the Seed Capital Matching Fund. And it's a $10,000 grant. It's a dollar-for-dollar grant. They do it twice a year. So it's too late to do it for the spring, but in the fall, probably mid-August is when they'll want the application. So after you all get your business plans done and you have all that ready, that's part of the process that you'll have for the VCTA matching fund, so you may want to look at that. And I'll tell you, I think I've only had one Buchanan County business to apply for it. So you all really need to look into this matching, seed capital matching fund. So it is matching. You have to show that you've invested $10,000, or you don't have, if you only need 5, you know, and you have receipts for 5 that you can show that you have already invested that much in your company, then, you know, you can ask for 5. But what I always think about is, if there's an opportunity for 10, I would go for it. So there's some other, the Cumberland Plateau Planning District. We all live in the Cumberland Plateau Planning District region. They have a revolving loan fund. Did any of you all know that?
I do know.
A revolving loan fund? Yeah. So what that means is they received a grant through the EDA and Economic Development Administration, and it's for small businesses. So they funded this grant program, and what they do is, it is to Cumberland Plateau. They will fund 1/3 of a project. So if you have let's say a project that's $90,000. Now most of ours are probably not going to be quite that much, but if you had a $90,000 project, then you could go to Cumberland Plateau and ask for $30,000 loan. Now there's a job creation component. You know, there's all these little criteria that you have to meet, but that might be an option that you look at. So there's several different options out there, and I know Sandy's bringing on lots of those folks.
Could we mention too Kiva?
Kiva is a GoFundMe type organization, and we had some winners from for Kiva. Yes, sir.
That was just a quick question. Do you how do you look at a view of crowdfunding campaign?
I think it depends on your personality, basically. You know, I don't know how I personally feel about it, but I mean, you know, some people think it's a great idea, and I know that one of my funders, who's with the SBA, Carl Knobloch, he thinks that that those types of crowdsourcing are wonderful opportunities, and they could be.
And the reason we used Kiva last year as a test pilot in Southwest Virginia is that we have a number of businesses that Margie and I all work in that's in that little gap, that they just need $10,000, and it's really sometimes a challenge to find. And the thing about Kiva that's different from some of the other crowdsource funders is that I can invest in your business, and you don't pay any interest. It's a community investment program. Somebody in Kenya could invest in your business online. I could put $25 into it, and I think it's only for so many years, so you have to pay that. You have to pay that money back. It's not free to you, but you're not paying that interest. And what makes it unique is that your community can invest in your project. And then I get, because I've invested in some businesses, and I start each month I get a note from Kiva that blank amount of money was put back into my Kiva account. And it's just a way to provide that gap financing, that we have some projects that the Salary project that's going into Norton got a Kiva grant fund. We had 5 in the test pilot, and 3 of them got fully funded within the time frame. So, but if you want some more information on Kiva, I'd be happy. It's KIVA, by the way.
And you can look at your website.
And we have a Southwest Virginia, I won't say account, but profile on there. That way, that if others here in Southwest Virginia that have funded those others, they can see your project.
Yeah.
Part of that is you have to put all about your information on there, and some do videos, because you're selling it just like you're going to be pitching your business idea here in a month.
Right before coming here, I bought a video camera. I have a tripod and all that, and I bought everything. The thing is that I've been looking into crowdfunding, and when Kickstarter first opened on the internet about 10 years ago, I've been funding. I've been helping people. There was a bakeries, there's cookie places. I used to, $10 here. I got T-shirts at home from those campaigns.
Cool.
So I'm wondering if that's a good route to go to. If you don't get the necessary funding you need here, is that a good route there? Because I have all the equipment at home. I have a video editing software that I bought like 5-6 years ago. So
I would just suggest do your homework to find out the fine print on those crowdsourced funding to make sure. It may sound great, but until you read that fine print, because there's others besides Kickstarter out there.
well, they get a percentage of whatever you get. Let's say you get 35,000, right?
They
And
do.
and then your fund goes 38,000. Well, they get a percentage no matter what. And I looked at a lot of crowdfunding sites, and I'm okay with that, you know, because I did calculations for what I need, but I also know what they need. It's a business. They have to pay, you know, they have to pay whatever they have to do. But me and my wife were talking over this morning at breakfast, that we're thinking about maybe even starting a crowdfunding, because it's a process. The thing is that her parents were gonna fund it right now. I didn't need to come here, but her parents are gonna fund it. But she just found out that one of her nieces has cancer, so she's gotta help her with her bills, and she can't fund us right now. So I'm like, you know, stuff happens, you know, things like this happen.
As Margie said, though, the SBA director for Virginia is a big crowdsourced funding person, and if you have questions, he won't come down. He can't come down here, but I'm sure he would answer some questions you may have, because he has worked with a number of businesses since he came to Virginia. He's been here 5 or 6 years, and he's got a lot of knowledge. And he was the one, I think, supported us on the Kiva program too that we did. So I guess the summary is there's help, but in addition to conventional financing, there's some other ways you can get it done.
Like, I didn't know about all these projects that's going on. If it wasn't for my wife knowing, I think her name is Edie. She got to know a lady in town. Her name is Edie.
Edie Farmer Property.
And that's probably her.
Yeah.
And my wife got to know her. She said, "Hey, your husband, he cooks pretty good, I heard." And then, you know, why don't we start a food truck, you know? And I've been involved in the food all my life, you know. I mean, I used to build hot dog carts, and then when Mayor Daley finished in Chicago, he was a jerk. He didn't let me. One time I went to a park with a hot dog cart that I built, and I was selling hot dogs, right? They fined me like over $1,000. They told me to get out because I couldn't sell.
Oh, no.
And I had all the paperwork selling I could. So that discouraged me. So I started building them. And when Rahm Emanuel came, he changed everything. Now you can. Now you go to Chicago, there's hot dog carts everywhere.
Awesome. Okay, Mary, do you know if the Buchanan County IDA has a revolving loan fund of any kind?
Not for this, not that I know of.
Okay, there, some of the localities do have, through USDA, they can get a grant and they can do small loans like that.
I've
But
never heard of it.
I
So-
think the closest used to be Dickinson. I don't think they do it anymore. I know Scott County does, but I don't believe any of them.
Yeah,
do.
it's
I misheard that.
yeah. So there are other types of resources out there. You know, SBA does have funding. So there's lots of different sources, and I'm happy to sit down and talk to you about the different things as one-on-one. That's what I do basically. I'm much better one-on-one than I am, or at least I think I am, than I am in front of a crowd, because I get a little nervous when it comes to talking to a lot of people. But the next thing that we need to look at is to obtain your federal EIN number, your tax state ID number, register your business, you know, so this is kind of a flow chart of how that goes, and I know that it's tiny, but when you're applying for these, like your federal EIN number, federal employer identification number, you go through the Internal Revenue Service. If you're applying for your tax ID number through Virginia, of course, it's the Virginia Taxation Office. If you have employees, then you may have to pay unemployment tax. So you need to contact the Virginia Employment Commission. If you have 3 employees, and that could be part-time, that could be family member. If you have 3 people working, be sure that you have workers' compensation, because you can be fined heavily if you do not have that. So just, you know, you can check with your insurance agent, and they can tell you what the amount would be, but you definitely want to make sure that you have workers' compensation if you have employees. Then we need to apply for the appropriate business license. So here in Grundy, I'm sure in the town.
Town of Grundy has a business license, but Buchanan County does not.
Right. So, health department, so if you guys are going to go, with food trucks or delis or things like that, you're either going to go with the Department of Health or VDACS, the Virginia Agricultural Consumer Services. And then EPA funding, if you have a business that's going to emit smoke in the air, or maybe you have a dry cleaner and it's considered a brownfield because of the chemicals that they use. So you have to be cognizant of what you're doing, what types of license that you may need to have, and who you need to contact as far as regulations. And then there may be other things that you need to check into. Okay, prepare a marketing strategy. There's 100 different ways that you can do a market strategy, but you can do blogs, you can do websites, you can do billboards. There's just so many different ways. But one of the things that the Small Business Development Center has, which I think is one of the coolest tools, is called Growth Wheel. What Growth Wheel does is it is a 360-degree assessment. So if you look at this is going to have the 4 major segments of what your business requires. You have to have a business concept, you have to have customer relations, you have to have operations, and you have to have organization. So if you are, say, lacking in the branding area of that, then we could look at this. We could take a line and draw it to the center if you feel that that you're needing a lot of help in that area. And so you can look at it visually and see the areas in your business that you need help with. So let's say it is branding. We have worksheets in our office, and they're also digital, so we can send those to you, and you can say, it's really not rocket science, but basically what it is where thousands of people have gone through exercises saying, if we have an issue with our branding, what if you did this? What if you tried this? So it's just a lot of different ideas, a lot of different questions, and then it's in a spreadsheet format that's very easy and visible that you can understand where you are when you look at it, when you look at that growth wheel. So I'm happy to go through that with you too, if you so desire at some point. And then the last thing, the number 10 step, is open your shop, open your business. Be visible. You want to make sure that people see you, that you have good signage for your coffee shop. You need to join the chamber. You need to join other civic or professional associations. Attend Board of Supervisors meetings. I know that none of us like to be all wrapped up in political stuff, but it's important that you know what's going on. If you're investing in that business, then you need to let your Board of Supervisors know what you think and how what you'd like to see happen in your locality. So get involved with your county government. So the Small Business Development Center is funded through the Small Business Administration, and the Virginia SBDC is the largest provider of counseling and training and business resources for the Commonwealth of Virginia. We provide tools and resources that help your business grow. Our services are free and they're confidential. And of course, nothing is really free because you pay taxes, so your tax dollars fund our program. We do offer the one-on-one counseling for the tools such as Growth Wheel. We provide things like the tool Ibis World and various other things like that. If your business needs training, or if you're considering selling to the government, we have that opportunity on the campus of Southwest Virginia Community College. We have a workforce development center that can help you do some custom training. Maybe it's customer service, maybe it's QuickBooks. There are things that we're working with. I don't know if you guys know Randy Rose. He was worked with tourism for a long time in our area, but Randy has just come on board as the workforce development dean for Southwest, and he's really great to work with. So you may, if you have some workforce issues, even if maybe your business only has 1 or 2 people, what you might want to do is band together and say, you know what, we need help, we need some customer service training. Will you come over and, bring your staff and help us get that training? PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center, selling to the government. If you are in the food industry, coffee industry, you may want to cater a luncheon or something like that. The state entities such as Southwest Virginia Community College, a prison, VDOT, any of the state organizations have to go through procurement. So what happens is we're registered online. So if we have a product that we need or a service that we need, we have to go in, put that need out there online. And if you're registered as a small woman or minority-owned business, then you can bid on that, and in a lot of cases you'll get the bid simply because you're a small woman or minority-owned business. So there are lots of resources, and I've covered a few of those tonight. But are there any questions at this point that I might be able to help you with? Or I think the number one thing that I encourage you to do, and I did put a couple of other things in here. If you have somebody that you can sit down and talk to, do a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses and opportunities and threats? That sometimes will tell you if it's a good idea to start now or maybe wait, or what are the opportunities, but what's the threat? I do have a business outline in there for you, and then also I put a list of resources that may be funding resources. But if you want more information on that, I'm certainly happy to sit down and talk with you one-on-one. Any questions at all at this point? Sandy had mentioned that you guys are going to need 3 copies of business plans. So if you want to work with me, I can help you put together the copies. I can make copies for you. I can bind them for you. So if you need some assistance in that area, we can certainly do that for you. Please don't wait till the last minute, though, because like I said, I'm getting ready to move. My office is moving, so we've got lots of things, lots of moving parts going on, but we're happy to work with you and help you get whatever you need to make you successful in this business challenge. The other thing is, please turn in, if you didn't turn in that little 641 form that I gave you earlier, please turn that in. And of course, everything that we do is evaluated, so I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope I haven't put you to sleep. But if you will, please do the evaluation. Be honest, because, it is what it is.
The business opportunity contact sheet.
The SWOT, you didn't have one?
The bottom one.
Oh, this one? Did I not get that to you?
I don't think I have.
Is this what
I don't think I have one.
No. I need the, this form right here.
Oh, yeah. You already have
I think you already gave it to me, yeah.
And with the Intuit that you were talking about, the QuickBooks, did you say you all offer training with that?
If they have enough people, they can actually do a customized training. So, if you didn't have enough for your own business, then you might try to get, say, these guys around the table, and if you had 5 or, I don't know how many people they actually require to do that, but, if you have enough people, they will customize it for you. And I think that they do offer the QuickBooks already, yeah.
Because I have QuickBooks, but I would like to have some training in it, because sometimes I just want to pull out my hair.
Yeah. I know. Okay. Well, thank you guys. You've been great.
Thank you for being patient with me. I got a lot of questions, but
okay.
And I've taken SBA seminars in Chicago. I've taken them back in the early 2000s, right after 9/11. I took a whole bunch.
Good.
And
there are some training videos on the Virginia SBDC website. So if you want to go in there and log in and take those training, that's great.
Yeah,
There's lots
and
of
for
different.
the food stuff, I've taken the class where you have to know what temperature it was, 40 degrees and 120 degrees, and
Right.
it has to be higher than 120.
So are you required to do the Safe Serve?
Yeah, I got the safe,
For
I got
the
safe serve,
cards?
but it's already expired.
Okay, so
I
you
got
would
it.
have to redo that.
Well, it's like 15 years old.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
do you?
Yes, please. I just need this.
You just need this, and who's
Oh, I
the
do
script?
need that
Okay,
too.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Please do.
Okay. Thank you all. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to turn it back to Sandy.
Thank you very much. Did you learn anything over the last hour and a half?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, it's just starting, so we got 5 more weeks of this. Don't forget, come next week with lots of questions. We're going to have an attorney that's driving here from Richmond. We're going to have a CPA, and we're going to have someone from insurance. Have your questions ready to answer, because this is a golden opportunity for you to get those. Yes, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg.
And we're gonna have it catered.
Maybe at some point y'all could take turns bringing some samples. But I thank you for your time and your commitment. I'm already congratulating you because y'all have made the first step. And I'm just happy that I've got a partner, the chamber here, that's partnering with us on this project. So if you have questions, you can contact Mary, you can contact me, you can contact Margie. You've got the whole list of mentors there. So again, we're partners in this, all of us. So next week, 6 o'clock this time, and we'll do it again.
Thank you very much.
Oh, by the way, Margie mentioned about other training. If you want some help with your marketing and so forth, every other Wednesday at the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator, we do a program called Noon Knowledge. So there's a ton of workshops online at youtube.com/Noon Knowledge that you can go and look them up. Actually, next Wednesday, we stream those live. Next Wednesday will be branding. How do you brand yourself, your personal branding? And as professionals, and everything that we do is how do people see us as our brand? So Josh Mancuso, who is an actor, a producer, and a filmmaker, is going to be doing that. So if you want to, you can watch that live, or just go and watch the stream afterwards. So again, thank you. Thanks, Mary, for hosting tonight.
I was getting ready to say, don't forget to pick up your papers if you need.
Yeah. Don't forget all your sign. Don't forget to give me all your. Okay, thank you. Put your name on the top too, so that we know who they are. But we need your signed guidelines that you've reviewed them. Put your name on the top. Those are the ones that put your initials beside. It's this one. Yeah, we need that where you have initialized. To see, that one's not been initialized. We need all those that you've reviewed them all. Yes,
okay.
each blank needs to have your initials.
Trust just one signature.
Yeah. Keep us all
Actually, I
honest.
think I might have signed it. I didn't sign.
Okay.
Well, I was so thank you guys.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Did I get your SBA form?
Yeah, already.
Okay. I think I'm laughing.